This is Game 3 of the 2025 Unland Cup semi-final match between Aric playing Avatar of Earth and Mike playing Archimago. The Unland Cup was a constructed tournament with a top 8 cut to the best of 3 elimination matches, 10 card sideboard allowed after Game 1. This looks like it was a pretty long match. I'm sure both players were struggling with hard decisions in the second half of the game. Currently getting set up with mulligans. And then getting ready to go. Having played 2 games already in this match, each one has a little bit of understanding of what to expect from the deck across from them here. Turn 1. Avatar of Earth is playing a Bedrock. Mike begins his turn, tapping for a step, and passing turn. Mike actually commenting that he drew a sight for his draw on that previous turn and regretted it. He had wished that he had drawn a spell instead. Aric getting out an early Crusade. Mike getting turn 2 Perilous Bridge into the center site. Perilous Bridge, a great location for that as a turn 2 site. It is just problematic that the Crusade is inhabiting those squares. 2 for a common sense. There's a very good chance he is common sensing for a disenchant. He's thinking about some blanks. But there's the disenchant, yeah. He cannot get it up this turn. He needs one more turn. So Aric has 1 turn with 3 mana to get something out onto his onto Mike's back row here. Mike still just taking a quick look and contemplating his options before committing. Taking a final look here before committing to the disenchant. Not opting for the disenchant, instead going for a berry. I think he's just going to roll the dice and threaten to bury anything that Aric wants to play out onto his sites here. And then, of course, with the Archimago ability, there is now a common sense in his cemetery. That's spell 1. Bury would be spell 2, and all he needs is 1 more to get into that cemetery, and he can recursion the bury a second time if needed. Aric pulling out a tower on turn 3 for 4 mana, and then casting 2 leprechauns onto Mike's sites. So Aric daring Mike to use that berry, and then recast it from cemetery if necessary on some low value targets here. Aric looks like 2 cards in hand. Now Mike's turn. He's tapping for a site, I'm sure, to play. Let's see what we get. Annual Fair. Annual Fair can help him with the threshold fixing. It's a little more useful when the mana base is a little more established. He's currently sitting at 3 mana for turn. And he's going to go ahead and get the berries started. So bury 1 target there, pass turn. 2 magic spells in his cemetery. Aric's turn. He's going to go ahead and attack for 3. He needs to get that value out of the leprechaun now before a potential second berry is going to hit it on the following turn. And he plays another site out to get a mana base of 4, but doesn't have a follow-up. Instead, he's going to pass turn. Mike drawing a spell for turn. Tapping, probably for another site. Thinking about his options, thinking about his site placements. I'm gonna play a pillar, cast out the leprechaun, just gain a life, go back up to 18, mana 4, and then he's gonna play his own leprechauns out on his home site there, his own double leprechauns. Aric setting up for his turn here. I think trying to decide what card to draw here. We'll win for a spell. Plays out an Amethyst Core. So 5 mana for turn. Perilous Bridge, like I said, still a pretty good site placement. There are ways around it currently on the board. He could go around, and of course the Crusade allows him to cast in. Aric choosing to attack into the step. Mike double blocking, so they'll trade 1 and 1 leprechaun, and the other one will live. Aric stepping forward with the Avatar of Earth and then blinking it onto the Perilous Bridge to get around that top border requirement on that thing. Calculating what the damage on what the power level on the Avatar of Earth in that position is, and it looks like they are realizing it is going to be 5. So Aric once again threatening to swing in for 5 a turn with that Avatar. Mike setting up his turn. Aric in a pretty good position. The Avatar of Aric can attack into the Perilous Bridge or the Annual Fair, both for 5 power. And he still has the Crusade up for summoning into Mike's back rows. Mike tapping Archimago for a site. Plays a free city. 5 mana base. $5 for a Dapperel Vampire. So Dapperel Vampire available to block. I took a quick peek at Mike's hand up there, and it didn't look like he had another grapple shot, which is a shame. A grapple shot would have been a really handy way to take care of the Dapperel Vampire and then still attack in for 5. He's going to go ahead and just declare an attack. That's it, just attacking for 5 and passing turn. Mike's drawing a spell. Mike drawing a spell for turn. And they were just double checking there a second ago. They were just double checking the power calculation on Avatar of Earth. Aric had thought for a moment that it was 6, but it is 5. Mike checking the board state. Looking to make a move with the vampire. He's going to swing back and attack for 4. Still 5 mana for turn. And 2 magic spells in his cemetery. Two for a blink. To blink the kettle top up. And I think blinking the kettle top up so it is in a better defending position. And then casting a Divine Heal. Divine Heal will take him back up to 20. And then he's got a graveyard full of magic spells with Divine Heal in it. So he threatens to be able to heal back up again. Aric's turn. And again, the defensive position with the Kettletop Leprechaun, the problem with this here is that no matter where he wants to attack with the Avatar of Earth, the Leprechaun can choose to defend, and it's just going to chump block, and then on Death Right it will give Mike a sight draw. So it's going to stall out a little bit. It's going to prevent him from swinging in for that 5 power hit for another turn. Again, Divine Healing in the cemetery buys Mike another turn or 2 on the clock as well. So even though Aric has been able to find himself, set up and in position with his avatar, Mike has been able to kind of fortify and push back to give him the time to get himself into a position where he has all the cards in his hand and he has all the answers. Going ahead and just attacking in with 5 onto the Perilous Bridge. And Mike considering whether or not to defend. And then going ahead and just blocking with the Leprechaun. So he's going to get that sight on Death Right. Aric looking at the board state now. I don't believe he's cast this turn. Still 5 mana in his pool. I have to believe he still has a play to make here, given the amount of mana he has and the thought going into it. He's opting to go ahead and just play a Divine Heal to bring himself back up to 20. And then passing turn. Mike drawing a spell for turn. Then looking at his options. I think he's calculating his mana. He's got 5 mana from sites at the moment, with conversion capability with the annual fair. Perhaps a little light on thresholds right now. Swinging in with the vampire for 4. Again, still 5 mana for turn. Threshold, 2 earth, 1 fire, 1 air. And then the annual fair is a possibility. Tapping Archimago to play a site. That looks like a second free city. Gonna bring him to 6. Mike also commenting on his thresholds. I think he wishes that his threshold count was a little more robust. But as you have seen, I mean, he has at least 1 in each color that he wants, and crucially he has 2 natively with Earth, and then a conversion possibility from the annual fair. So I'm sure he definitely has a play for turn, but he's just thinking long and hard about it here. And although I'm sure he wishes he had a couple more thresholds, it hasn't seemed to slow down his game so far. He's been able to cast everything that he's wanted. He's recasting. I think he's just thinking about how he wants to do this. He's going to pitch 3, banish 3 from his cemetery, and recast. Pitching the Divine Heal and opting to keep the berry in his cemetery. Fetching out a Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolts can be very dangerous in this Archimago deck, where you're constantly cycling, getting magic spells into the cemetery. Just because if he has enough critical mass, if he gets enough magic spells that can go in there, then he has an access to burn with a Lightning Bolt for 6 points of damage on a turn. And that's just with a Lightning Bolt. Mike passing turn back to Aric. Aric taking a look here and thinking about what his next move is going to be. Mike doesn't currently have any blockers. So if Aric wants to, he can again attack in for 5 points. I think he's weighing that. I think he's weighing that option. I mean, if he still doesn't have a grapple shot to deal with the vampire, I don't think he stands to gain anything from not swinging in. So he's going to attack. No, he's going to... Okay, he's going to play a Pillar of Zyros instead. Banish out, increases mana base, heal up. And then he's playing a Rita of Snowdonia. Rita able to be cast onto the back row there with the aid of Crusade. Mike, unfortunately, still has that berry in his cemetery, sitting at 6 mana. It is possible that he could get that to get the berry off this turn, but unlikely, just because he would need a 1. I think he would need a 1 cost magic spell to do it, like another Divine Heal, like a Divine Heal, and then a Blink or a Power of Flight or a Common Sense, something that costs 2, and then he could recast from Cemetery the berry for 3. So it is possible that Aric gets a turn with Rita. And I think more crucially, or just as an additional benefit to kind of ensure getting a little bit of value out of Rita on that play, because Rita was in play during the untap step when Mike started his turn here, the vampire was not allowed to untap. So that did, buy Aric a turn, vampire free. If Mike can't come up with a way to deal with Rita on this turn, or produce 1 or 2 blockers onto the board, he is potentially swinging in for 6 or 7 damage, depending on which site he's going to attack into. In a perfect world with no defenders, where Rita's allowed to stick around for until next turn, Avatar of Earth is allowed to stick around for next turn. At this point, because the pillar is now in play, Avatar of Earth calculates at power 6. Rita would be power 7 where it is. Represents 13 points. 13 points of damage swinging in if uncontested. An incredible amount of power. It hits like a truck. Is he going to play one more? Mike is playing another site. He's playing a Pebbled Path. 7 mana. And then 4 for a Black Plague. So the Black Plague is going to be the removal to take care of Rita at the end of this turn when it goes off. With his last 2 mana, he's going to Common Sense for another Common Sense. So again, starting to fill up that cemetery. He's got a Common Sense and a berry in there right now. So that was all of his mana, all of his plays. End of turn, Rita gets killed from the Black Plague. Aura. They're just are having a conversation really quick about Rita. Mike was saying, he didn't think that he could actually cast him on the previous turn, but he wasn't calculating the additional mana from the Amethyst Core. Aric, unfortunately, in kind of a tough spot, I think. I mean, Archimago has been allowed to to establish itself, to kind of get into that control seat that it wants to be in, where he's had all the answers. Aric, though, common sensing for a berry, coming up with an answer of his own, and then attacking in with an Avatar of Earth at 7 power. Just an incredible swing there. Aric just making sure he doesn't have any other plays. I think he only had 1 mana left in his pool, and he passed turn back. Mike starts his turn, and at the end of this turn, unless Mike chooses to play a creature within one of the affected aura sites of Black Plague, that aura will dispel. Mike tapping for a site. And he is getting dangerously close to the Craterize mana threshold here. If I was Aric and I was looking across the table at Mike's hand, and Mike had at least 2 sites in his hand on his turn, I would start to be a little worried about that, because at that point, when he begins his turn, if he had 2 sites, he could potentially tap to play a site, get to that 8 mana threshold, and then be able to have a site in hand to pitch as one of the casting cost requirements for a Craterize. Mike, I think just looking for some options. I think he is still, sticking to that strategy of trying to just stall out until he can come up with some solutions and some win conditions here. I believe he does still have that lightning bolt in his hand, and he can burst it out for 6 points of damage if he needs to. Unless Mike is holding on to some more healing options. There it is. There's a Divine Heal. I think that's the second Divine Heal of the game. Common sense. So again, one of the more demoralizing aspects of playing Archimago is facing off with Archimago with Divine Heals, and you do what seems like an incredible amount of damage to them, but if you can't bring them to door, and they are able to draw into those key cards, they just heal up and up and up, and so everything that you've done just unravels, and you look back at their life total and they're back up to 20 where they started in the game. Aric taking a quick look at the cemetery and the banished card pile. That looks like that was the last common sense in the deck for this game for Mike. At least he doesn't have to contend with that anymore, but Mike now also has a cemetery full of magic spells and a couple very annoying cards in there that he could use on the Archimago ability. Yeah, he's got 5 magic spells in there right now, Berry, Common Sense, Divine Heal. Just pulled the blink into his hand. I'm going to go ahead and cast the blink. Draws a card. And again, just fattening up the cemetery yet again, which I believe, what did I say? It was five magic spells before, and now it's 6. Aric swinging in for 7 because, I mean, at that point, why wouldn't you? He's gonna play a Unicorn. Unicorn buffed with the Crusade is going to be 5. It's just a question of, you know, is it allowed? Is it going to be allowed to stick? Does Mike have any other ways to kill it, to remove that minion? Which we know he does. At the very least, he has a berry in his cemetery as an option. But more importantly, does he have damage spells in his hand? And is he in a position where he could potentially start bursting down Aric with damage spell casts and recursions from the cemetery? He's tapping for a sight. This is his 8th sight. It's going to bring him up to 8 mana. He's looking for placement here. He's thinking long and hard about it. Yeah, he's gonna play over there all the way to the end. Another annual fair. So he's now at the mana requirement for Crater Eyes, and I think he has a sight in hand for it as well. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to see his hand in a little bit here. Looks like he's gonna pay 3 mana. No, he's waffling back and forth on a decision there. He's taking a beat here to think about what he's gonna do with all of this mana on this turn. Looking at Aric's hand really quick. It looks like Aric has a blink. I think I might have seen an Atlas Wanderer in there. I don't think that was an Atlas Wanderer. I'm not sure what that card was though. $5 for an Earthquake. And an Earthquake to, kill the Unicorn. And let's see what the reorder is on the sites. I think he's looking for optimal placements on where to do the rearrange on the Earthquake. And I think he's specifically looking for where he can pocket the Avatar of Earth to bring its power down. So back in that corner, if the Avatar of Air tries to swing into the Perilous Bridge now, it's only going to be swinging at a combined total of 4 power. It can't move up to the pillar through that top border on Perilous Bridge, and attacking into the pebbled path from where it is, the power total would recalculate to 5. So I think just some minor optimizations there, but I mean it's better to get him down to swinging to 4 to 5 versus swinging at 7 where they were sitting before, in the center of the board. Mike passing turn back to Aric. And unfortunately, I mean, Mike is still facing down this Crusade, which can be a problem if Aric gets enough minions in there. He's got a Pudge Butcher, again, which he can play down, and he could create a dangerous attack line from Pillar of Zyros if he wanted. Aric double checking the power calculation on Avatar of Earth. It's a little tricky in real time, especially when you're thinking about everything else. You also have to think about kind of like, based on where it is right now, what the power is going to be. He's playing an Atlas Wanderer. He's playing it on the Pillar of Zyros, and then he's like rearranging back, and then he's trying, and then he's flipping back to the site where power calculates to 7, and he can swing in at 7. So a decent rearrange. It gives Aric a lot of damage potential if left unanswered here. Just Atlas Wanderer on a site affected by Crusade, 6 power. Avatar of Earth swinging in for 7s. Mike asking for a hand check. Aric is holding 4 spells. And Mike untapping to begin his turn, draws a spell for turn. So again, Mike's still in a jam here. Here's a Death Dealer for 7 mana to take care of the Atlas Wanderer, give him a blocker, and buy himself at least another turn. Aric just double checking that Mike had enough mana to cast the Death Dealer, and he did. He has 8 again, like we said, at Craterized Danger level here. And then he had to spend 1 on the conversion with the Annual Fair to get enough fire. Aric choosing to attack in, or a grapple shot into the Death Dealer, and then swing in with another attack on the site for another 7 points. He needs to get him down to door as soon as possible to avoid seeing another Divine Heal come out and undermine a lot of that work. The longer that Mike can stall out and buy turns, the longer that he has a potential to turn the tables here. And then they're double checking their math again on the power calculation with Avatar of Earth. Again, like Avatar of Earth, it's a little tricky. It recalculates every time it enters into a new site placement on the board. And both Aric and Mike have played a lot of board rearrangement pieces in their pool. So like the sites have been kind of like floating around back and forth here. So it is a lot to keep track of, and they just want to make sure that they are applying the modifiers correctly. Yeah, Mike at 8 mana. He's got a ton of spells in the cemetery right now, and I haven't looked at his hand recently, but I can only assume he still has a decent amount of spells housed there. He's tapping for another sight. He's going to play runes. That'll take him to 9 mana and help with his threshold fixing. Get one to get a ring out, and then 7th bait to play a Titan on top of on top of Aric's avatar. Again, the Titan comes out. It'll strike. It'll strike every unit on Genesis, so he has to take that damage. That puts him in a slightly difficult position, just because, you know, to attack back into and remove the Titan, he'd have to take the damage on the Avatar as well, because they would both fight and strike each other. And after taking 1 strike from the Titan, it makes you very cautious about having to do that again, and take another full strike from it just to remove it. And you don't want to. I think like at this point it's dangerous to get close to door on your turn here without having Mike on door himself, just because Mike has that ring out. And one of the reasons that the ring is so powerful is that it is almost a guaranteed kill spell when it comes out. So if it comes out either on the turn that you're going to use it, or the turn before, or it's been around and your opponent can't get around that, and the Avatar can take a step to get within range nearby your Avatar on door, all they have to do is play a spell. I've definitely played a lot of games where like the kill shot has been they're holding a ring or they play a ring, and all they do is take a step up and they play any spell in their hand. It doesn't matter what the spell is. It's just on cast, it's going to trigger the ring, do a point of damage to something nearby. It looks like Aric does have a Dispel in his hand to at least deal with the ring. He is lightning bolting Archimago for 3 to get 3 points in. He's putting a flaming sword onto his Avatar of Earth. And he's declaring an attack, moving in and attacking the Avatar. Yeah, so Mike currently at 4. He's declaring an attack here. I think he's just He's kind of talking through it, and I think just trying to make a decision on what target he's going to attack here. And the only implication would be like with the flaming sword, he just wants a guarantee that even if the Titan defends and blocks, that the splash damage from the sword would still hit Archimago and take him to door. So that'll go in uncontested, because Mike doesn't really see a benefit to blocking that, since he'll end up going door anyways because of that flaming sword splash. And it's better to have the Titan as a piece still on the board at that point, probably. It does. I mean, it puts him in a pressured spot here. He does have access to a lot of things. It's, you know, I find it hard to believe that he can't bring him to door on this turn. It's just a question of whether or not Mike can set up to protect himself for a turn and then get the tag on the turn after that with Aric for door for the game. So he needs to bring Aric to door on this turn, and then they're going to enter into a game of cat and mouse here. Aric currently sitting at 9. The Titan swings for a lot, but he can't bring him to the death's door on his own. The only problem with both going to door is that it removes Aric's ability to attack with his avatar. He needs to be real careful, just because it can't take damage in reciprocation on a fight. So he is going to need another win condition of some kind, like another grapple shot, another lightning bolt, a magic missile. And he's got plenty of those answers peppered into his deck. Archimago taking a step to move away. Lightning bolting the avatar of Earth and then pinging off of the ring on that cast for 4 points of damage. And then, just moving in with an attack with the Titan for door. Which I think he chose to attack the avatar to do that. I don't think he necessarily had to. He could have taken a step up and just attacked that holy site to get him to door, and then keep the Titan on the board. But now he's chaining blinks to run away as far as he can into the corner. I don't know if there was a reason for him to choose that attack target for the Titan. I think maybe that was just overlooked, that he could just take a step up and attack the site itself. But I think that would have been a much stronger position, because then he would still have that piece and keep Aric in a difficult spot. Aric, unless he has a lightning bolt, probably unlikely that he can get that tag for the game here on this turn. Aric asking an interesting hypothetical. His question was, if I drew a blink, do I have to teleport before I draw a card? Like, is that sequencing critical and written in stone? And the answer was yes, because that is the order in which operations appear on the card. So you teleport to a nearby site, and that's one clause, and then you draw a card, and that's the second clause. going to enter into the end portion of this game, where they are both at door. They're both going to be jockeying for position. They're both going to be praying for a top deck for something that just ends the game here, like a lightning bolt. Mike, in particular, he has to be very careful with where he ends up with the Avatar of Earth and where Archimago can go. Unless he can end the game right now, I think that puts him in a dangerous position, because Mike could potentially like recast teleport and then just cast the spell and ping him with the ring on his next turn. Aric, like I said, he does have that dispel, and he's going to have to use it if he wants to survive another round here, which is what we're seeing. He's going to take a step forward. He's going to target that location, because now at that point it is within 2 steps, the 2-step range of the dispel. And they're just discussing, it's just like Aric just thought it more prudent to just try to get as close back to Archimago as possible. But unfortunately, they're calling game because he had to pass turn. Mike had a magic missile in his hand, and that's game there. Real close at the end. It's just, like Archimago always has card advantage, almost always has card advantage over whatever other deck it is playing against, and it just it's highly likely that it is holding the answer that it needs. So Mike with Archimago is going to advance to the finals.